what does it put it at? It puts it at 2,539 years ago.
Okay.
So roughly about 2,000 years from there until Lord Chaitanya. Apparently, there's some sort of tweaky opinions, I guess you could call them, about Kali Yuga. The Kali Yuga only lasts 5,000 years, and then it becomes a golden age, which is interesting because that's not our understanding by any means. But we're in Kali Yuga for 432,000 years. And we've gone through about 5,000, well, there's 5,000, including the time of Lord Chaitanya. And then after that, we have another 9,500 of the Golden Age of Kali. So we're getting that worked out. But the biggest breakthrough for me, and I expressed it to you probably too excitedly and not enough data, was that the significance of Lord Chaitanya being Yuga avatar. Do you catch that, Prabhu? Mohit, Aryan Singh?
Yes,
Lord Chaitanya, yes, Lord Chaitanya being the Yuga avatar, yes.
Yeah, Lord Chaitanya being the Yuga avatar, he is not, even when Krishna appeared in person in the Dwapara Yuga, he came in pastimes and nobody knew that he was God. Prabhupada said at the Battle of Kurukshetra, this is all in that paper that I can find. Prabhupada said in the Battle of Kurukshetra that only a few hundred people knew that Krishna was God. Can you imagine? So that's why Yudhisthira did the Rajasuya sacrifice. He performed it to make Krishna the most honored person on earth. To do that, he had to conquer every single kingdom. Either that or they came into compliance voluntarily. They may have been allies to begin with. So he brought them all into alignment, ending with the kingdom of Jarasandha. And what happened is that that once everyone on earth was under his dominant rule as emperor, then he did the Rajasuya sacrifice, which meant that planet Earth recognized Krishna as the most honored person, meaning God. And that was the first time. People didn't know that he was God per se. Of course, then later on, after the Battle of Kurukshetra, Vedavyas wrote Mahabharata, Ramayana, everything. He wrote all these books. But that was the key, was the Rajasuya sacrifice. And without the Rajasuya sacrifice, we would not have Radha Krishna deities in temples today to worship, because Krishna would not have been understood to have been the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But now, in terms of the Yuga avatar, can you imagine all these religions on earth, whatever they believe? Basically, they have to accept also there's only one God. And then they have a whole wars over what to name that God. There's only one God, the same God. And they're having wars on what name to award that God, or to call God by what name. And when that happened, when Lord Chaitanya came as Yuga avatar, the entire creator of everything showed up to be the Yuga avatar, not a deity, not a person having pastimes, but the Yuga avatar for the Golden Age of Kali. That is so mind-boggling, because as I've been hinting at all along, when Lord Chaitanya appeared, he ended all religion on earth. So shall we say, 500 years ago, 550 years ago, all religion on earth ended. So if people are still wandering around trying to practice different things, they're wasting their time.
Mm.
He broke open the storehouse of love of God, which means that by simply hearing the holy name that came out of the storehouse of love of God, you got the end result of all religious practice, which is to liberation, finding God, being blessed by God, being loved by God, accepted by God, going to the kingdom of God. All of that was handed to a person simply hearing the Hare Krishna mantra once. Isn't that amazing?
Mm. Mm. Yes.
So, yeah. So I don't want to go on and on about it, but that's in that paper I was writing that I can't find it. Trying to be nuts.
Okay, here in this conversation, Srila Prabhupada and Alan Greensburg, May 13th, 1969 in Columbus, Ohio. This is that famous conversation. Alan Greensburg says 4,000 years will people 400,000 years will people still be chanting Hare Krishna in 400,000? No, Hare Krishna will be finished within 10,000 years. There will be no Hare Krishna. Haha. So what will be left? Prabhupada, nothing. Left, Prabhupada, nothing left be. I'll kill you and eat you, and you shall kill me. You shall eat me. That will be left. Alan Greensburg, after 10,000 years, yes, there will be no grain, no milk, no sugar, no fruit. So I have to eat you, and you'll have to eat me. Full facility for meat eating. Full facility, Krishna is very kind. He'll give you facility, all right. Why cows and calves? You take your own son, yes, eat nicely. Just like the serpent snakes, they eat their own offsprings, tigers. So this will happen. I guess this is the description. Let's see, 10,000 years comes up again. Here it says.
And you remember, I actually listened to that conversation as it was being spoken through a small hole in the wall of a closet where I was peeking through and hearing the conversation in the next room.
Try. Prabhupada says, Alan Ginsberg says, Kali eats her own? Prabhupada, yes, and there will be no brain to understand, no preacher, nothing else. Go, go, go to the dog, and then Krishna will come. All right, let me kill you so that you are saved. Alan Ginsberg. But Alan Ginsberg. But you see, it is actually a historical thing of 10,000 years of chanting, of the chanting, diminishing chanting of Srila Prabhupada. Yes, these are Alan Ginsberg. Well, then do you think more people will chant Hare Krishna or fewer? Oh, yes, more people. Now it will increase until up to 10,000 years. Alan Ginsberg. And then Prabhupada, then diminish. Let's see, then diminish, Alan Ginsberg. So what is the purpose of right now a world increase? Prabhupada, people will take advantage of this up to 10,000 years. Then they will, Alan Ginsberg. So this is like the last rope. Prabhupada laughs. Yes. So the sooner we take to shelter of Krishna consciousness is better. Alan Ginsberg. Well then, according to Vedic theory, when did this Yuga begin according to the Vedic theory? Or this is Shastra? Yes. Then Prabhupada goes into the detail. When did this Yuga? It began from this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He introduced 500 years ago, and it will continue now. Hayagriva, Kali Yuga, Prabhupada. Kali Yuga has begun 5,000 years ago. Allen Ginsberg began 5,000 years ago. Then Kirtananda is here too. Wow, all the big shots. Kirtananda. But this wave within Kali Yuga, in which the Hare Krishna increases and then diminishes, is about 10,000 years. And that began 500 years ago. See it? Kali Yuga, the duration of life of Kali Yuga is 432,000 of years. Out of that, we have passed 5,000 years. There is a balance, 427,000 of years. Out of that, 10,000 years is nothing. So this is, I was just searching 10,000 years, and this came up.
Amazing. Can you send that to me? Can you text?
Yes, Narayan Prabhu, I'll send you this.
Put it in an email, hopefully.
Yes, I'll send you this whole conversation and link. So yes, Narayan Prabhu, anyone wants to comment, go ahead. I'll just end the screen share here.
No, keep going. You're doing great.
So I guess this is recorded in the Bhaktivedanta archive, so people can listen to it. So here it's saying that this golden age of Kali began, when was it? Kali Yuga began 5,000 years ago, and this chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra will last 10,000 years. Began from this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He introduced 500 years ago, and it will continue now. So, let's see.
So Haribol, 9,500 years are still left, right?
Yes, approximately, give or take 10, 20, 30 years. Right now,
So by that standard, we have about 900 and 450 years left in the golden age of Kali.
you mean 9,450 years? You said 900.
Golden age of Kali. Yeah, 9,000. Yeah, that's 9,450 years in the golden age of Kali.
The ticket to Golok Dham in this age. Guys, grab it.
Well, yes. And what we're experiencing right now may get better for a while, but in the end, it's just going to continue to get incrementally worse. Just like winter, the more you try to plant a garden in winter, the less it will grow as winter progresses, until it dies under a mountain of snow. But one interesting thing I could mention, I don't want to get into it too much because this is very important topic, is that Allen Ginsberg was totally horrified by the entire situation that Prabhupada said. The reason why is when he went to Calcutta, and he had been a beatnik, where it was sort of a post-World War II Japanese Buddhist influenced period of people just being beat, meaning like they were like, I think they fancied themselves to be in a Buddhist monastery where they just hang around and write poetry and wear beards and stuff like that.
Okay.
But Ashok Fakir, Ginsberg went to Calcutta, stayed with a person that I got to know quite well, named Ashok Fakir, and he saw all these people on the street. We did not care for them. They're with beards and top-knot hair and mostly worshiping demigods or Shiva or something of that sort. And they were smoking ganja in a chillum and bells and whatnot. So he saw all of that and he wrote it down in a diary. And he left the diary in Calcutta, and Ashok got it and showed it to me. So I actually read the beginning of the hippie movement before it even began, which is interesting. And so what happened is that I wish I had that. It doesn't matter. I saw it. But the thing is that when Ginsberg came back, he destroyed the beatnik movement and he started the hippie movement. And they just, based on the things that he saw in Calcutta, beads and bells and flowers and garlands and all of that, you know. So that became the hippie movement, where people were just so like, drop out, turn up, tune in. So he had believed, I suppose, even until he met Prabhupada, that we were in the age of Aquarius and that things were going to get better and better, and people would become open and more open and more peaceful, more and more loving. So he saw the hippie movement as being the harbingers, the first members of the age of Aquarius. There was even a rock and roll song, I think, called The Age of Aquarius. And when he met Prabhupada, and the age of Aquarius is when Jesus was supposed to have the greatest influence too.
No, not Prabhu. Can you stop shaking the camera? Because can you put
Okay,
it?
sorry
put the
about
phone
that.
some-
Sorry about
Yeah.
Here it goes.
So
Sorry.
that way it's like better. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I put it in a clamp now. So the age of Aquarius, it was supposedly, well, Jesus came in the Piscean age. And that's why the symbol for Jesus is a fish. But in any event, that's not very earth-shaking news, but in any event, the idea of the age of Aquarius, oh yeah, there was a musical that became very famous called The Age of Aquarius. And devotees used to go outside the theater and sell books and magazines as people streamed out of the theater, having seen the movie with devotees in it, chanting Hare Krishna on the stage. So Ginsburg was very shaken by that. So this conversation was totally transformational for Allen Ginsberg, and it should be transformational for everybody else on earth, because it shows the vitality and the utter necessity of the Lord Chaitanya and being the Yuga avatar. God comes here, tells us what to do personally. Assuming there's only one God, who has a choice not to do it? Simple as that. Okay, that's enough for me.
Okay. Anyone else wants to comment? We got Sashi Kumar, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Haribol, nice to see you again online.
Even I waited for this day.
You waited for it? It's good. So now you're on. So you can ask any questions, comments, or anything you want to share. And then, or we can continue. We were reading a conversation with Srila Prabhupada and Allen Ginsberg on Kali Yuga. No? So that was...
There was a doubt. I had a doubt regarding Srimad Bhagavatam. I found that when I started, I was reading. Wait, I will open that. Shall I ask one doubt now?
Yes, you can ask your question now. Yeah.
Hello, Prabhuji.
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
As we know, Lord Krishna comes once in a day of Brahma. Lord Krishna himself comes once in a day of Brahma, right?
That's 6,400,000 years.
But see, Lord Krishna, who is the son of Nanda Maharaj, was also Lord Krishna himself, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also Krishna himself. Is that in contradicting?
I'm sorry?
See, Krishna came twice, right? Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also Krishna himself, and son of Nanda Maharaj was also Krishna himself.
Absolutely. What it boils down to is that, that's nice. What
is
about-
in mommy's house.
Oh, you
Anything
are.
good?
Yeah, you look fantastic.
Hari
look like you're
Bol,
very, very
Jai,
spiritual.
Jai.
So, yeah. So it just shows that we are not here by accident. We, meaning you, me, and everyone, and Ramachandra and his daughter, we're not here by accident. We're here to be part of Lord Chaitanya appearing 5,000 years ago and Lord Chaitanya as the Yuga avatar. We're very, very blessed. Think of all the universes there are, and think of all the planets there are, and the infrequency of Krishna appearing. A day of Brahma is 6,400,000 years, and then nighttime for Brahma is also 6,400,000 years. So that gives you about almost 13 billion years for 24 hours of Brahma's time. So that's a good chunk of time. And with the yugas, you have 4 yugas, what do you call it? We have to go with Prabhupada's version. There's a lot of versions, if you look online, that they are completely way off in terms of understanding the yugas. Prabhupada has it correctly, and he has delivered it from Krishna himself. But in the yugas, you have Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, Kali Yuga, and that makes a kalpa. 4 of them together make a kalpa, just like 4 seasons in the earth make a year. Then you have a certain number of kalpas that make a manu. So it's all very incremental, but we're in a very unusually, extremely excellent place right now ourselves, because we're situated shortly after Krishna appeared 5,000 years ago. In the cosmos, 5,000 years is a blink of an eye. And then 500 years after Lord Chaitanya appeared. And we're at the beginning of the golden age of Kali, which means the world belongs to us, meaning if wherever we go chanting Hare Krishna, we will be as good as avatars ourselves in terms of the outcome for those who hear it from us. I'm not saying we're avatars, but I am saying the potency of the avatar is to make those in his association Krishna conscious. And if we may not be so pure, but by chanting Hare Krishna, the mantra is pure. So that wherever we go chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, it is like the mantra is a Shakti Vaishavatar. So wherever we chant, it just glows in the hearts of every being that hears it. This is something that's not yet fully understood.
Your voice is breaking, Prabhuji. I'm not getting.
It's breaking up? Okay, well then the best thing is somebody else should talk.
Okay. His voice is not breaking up on my side. It's fine, Prabhu.
Sounds good to me.
Sounds good to Mahaprabhu. So
Hari
maybe
Bol,
I
Mahaprabhu
think
is
we're
in
all
the
getting
house.
to the conclusion. We can understand how fortunate we happen to personally be. And even if we're not pure, that's not the point. We don't chant Hare Krishna so that we become pure. We chant Hare Krishna to purify others. Because if you become pure, what will happen? You'll go back to Godhead, right? If you're pure. But you're going to go back to Godhead. It's guaranteed. Without a guru, without anybody in ISKCON doing a number on you, you'll go back to Godhead anyhow.
so. Shashi Kumar, what is the exact doubt you have?
Yes, Prabhuji.
What is the exact doubt you have?
I had so Lord Krishna comes once in a day of Brahma, right? So Lord Krishna came twice, right? As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and as Vasudeva.
Okay.
This was my doubt. Isn't it contradicting?
Who's the third one?
Twice, I said twice. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Vasudeva, Shri Krishna.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's easy to understand. Lord Krishna, as Vasudeva, comes as you said. But Lord Chaitanya never comes. He hardly ever comes. It's not like
Never
he's
comes.
scheduled to come. He's not scheduled to come. He came because he came. It's once out of millions of years that Lord Chaitanya will come. So people don't get that. They're going on, oh, I'm going to be Hindu. I'm going to be Hindu. Well, it won't do any good. If you worship Durga, they'll kill you.
Why
Yeah,
would he
apparently.
come? Why would
I'm
Lord
sorry.
Chaitanya come?
Well, he came from his point of view. He came to entertain the mood of Radharani as to how she can have so much devotion for him. Being Krishna and God, you'd think he'd know everything. And he does, except there's one tiny thing he cannot know, and that is that the love of his devotee is faster in being offered to him than he can accept. Otherwise, he would know everything in advance. There would be no interesting things. There would be no surprises.
So, Hare Krishna, bro, can you repeat yourself again, please? Hari Bol.
Who? Sasi Kumar or Narayan Prabhu? Who are you talking about?
Of course, Narayan, bro.
Oh, okay.
No, go ahead. Somebody else explain it. Ramachandra, you explain.
No, bro, I want to hear it from your mouth, so please.
Why
Haribol,
does
please.
Lord Chaitanya come back? Why would he want to come back?
No. Lord Chaitanya, he came 500 years ago, and before that, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, appeared 5,000 years ago.
Got
So,
it. Yeah.
so he is coming. Narayan Prabhu was explaining the esoteric understanding of why he came. Lord Krishna came in the mood of Radharani. So that is a little, esoteric in a sense where you'll have to understand the philosophy, the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, to understand that part.
Yeah, you have to know what's
Okay.
going on.
So that guy has an issue that
You have to know
Krishna
what's going on in Krishna
came
consciousness.
twice, right?
Huh?
He has an issue that Krishna came twice, Haribol. Sorry. Yes, Narayan,
I'm
bro,
sorry.
you were asking something, Haribol?
Yes. Shashi Kumar Prabhu had an understanding that it seems contradictory that the Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared 5,000 years ago as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and now the Supreme Personality of Godhead is also appearing as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago.
Haribol, why to go into history and all? Enjoy. Krishna came twice.
It's unrelated.
Enjoy. Krishna came twice.
Lord Krishna comes regularly to Vrindavan with Krishna pastimes, as
Haribol.
described in the Brahma Samhita by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur.
Very good, Mohit.
But for him to come as Lord Chaitanya has no
Thank you very much,
schedule.
Haribol.
He does not come according to schedule. It was just sort of a coincidence. But it worked out well because when Yudhisthira performed the Rajastriya sacrifice, at least we understood that Krishna was God. You realize that nobody knew Krishna was God in Dwapara Yuga. No, they didn't know he was God. Prabhupada said maybe a few hundred people at the time of the battle of Kurukshetra. What was there, 20 million people? That nobody knew he was God. Everybody knew that he was a coward boy. Everybody knew the son of Nanda Maharaj and Yasoda. Everybody knew that he killed Uncle Kamsa. Everybody knew that he was herding cows. He was dancing with gopis. That he got married. He was 10,108 wives. I mean, he understood all of these amazing things, but nobody knew that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead until Yudhisthira created the Rajasuya sacrifice for that exact purpose, so that we could retain Krishna during the Kali Yuga as our worshipable deity.
Right.
So, but yeah. Go ahead.
Just one question here. True, whosoever is born as, Radharani, or Radharani's soul, or anyone which was closer to Krishna, right? His friends, they were all great devotees in previous life. That's why Krishna gave them an opportunity to serve, right?
Well, not just in previous lives, in Krishna Loka.
Yeah, they're
Haribol.
coming. Yeah, they're coming from the spiritual world, specifically for this.
They came
Yeah.
down to have fun with Krishna. They didn't leave the spiritual world, and neither did Krishna, but they expand down to take
Okay.
part in his pastimes.
Haribol, Jai.
The
Yes,
same
yes.
happened with Lord Chaitanya. He came down, the people he came down with were gopis. Rupa
Yeah, Hare
Manjari. Rupa Goswami is Rupa Manjari, one of the top ranking gopis under Radharani in the spiritual sky.
Jai.
But he came down to become a Muslim. Haridas Thakur, you know who he is?
Yeah, yes.
Who is he?
He was a Muslim and then he converted to Sanatan Dharma, and he had he faced various problems, right?
Yes.
Then also,
But
yeah.
who was Haridas before he became Haridas?
That I don't know.
Lord Brahma.
You want to hold on to your hat?
Mhm.
Prabhu,
Haridas was Lord Brahma,
Jai,
excuse
who
me,
was it?
Prabhu.
the Brahma,
Jai.
the creator of the universe, Brahma.
Yes. He was Brahma. Haribol, Jai.
Yes. Brahma, you got to read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, all revealed there. Yeah, Haridas was Lord Brahma. What do you got there? Can you imagine? And Rupa Goswami was Rupa Manjari. Jiva Goswami, they were all gopis in the spiritual
Yeah.
world. They didn't leave Krishna Loka. They expanded out of Krishna Loka.
Expanded. Okay.
Yeah, and they were doing the pastimes with Lord Chaitanya. It was all theatrics.
So
They
what
were-
was Arjun, Prabhu? What was
Huh?
Arjun? What was Arjun in the previous life? Anywhere written? Not.
Arjuna and Krishna are travel together everywhere.
Okay.
You know?
Yes, that's stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Mahabharata.
Yes, Prabhu,
Yeah.
because everyone wants to become Arjuna, right? The bestest friend of Krishna.
Become? How can you become Arjuna? The
Well,
position is already taken.
No one can. Yeah. Everyone wants to be like him, right? The bestest friend of Krishna. Right.
Prabhupada gave me a spiritual name, Nara Narayan Das. You know? Nara
Yeah.
Narayan. That's Krishna and Arjuna.
Haribol, Jai.
You know, it's a deity in Bhadranath. Two yogis
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
sitting there in great austerity. But it's Radha and Krishna.
So I just want to
No, it's Krishna and Arjuna.
I just want to stop here, and then Sasi Kumar Prabhu wanted to say something, so let's give it an
Sure.
opportunity
You're
to
the,
comment.
you're the leader of the pack.
Hare
Go
Krishna,
ahead.
Sasi Kumar Prabhu, go ahead. We cut you off, so go ahead. Feel free to comment or make a statement or express a doubt or anything else.
Prabhuji, Shashi Kumar Prabhuji, where are you? Haribol.
Okay, so if he's not going to comment, we can read this because he's asking about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Krishna. So I'm just doing some, Veda-based crunching. So these things are very
Sure.
interesting. So I thought I'd read it. So this is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 5, verse 23. When Krishna appeared, he gave his orders. And when Krishna himself appeared as a devotee, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he showed us the path by which to cross the ocean of Kali Yuga. That is the path of the Hare Krishna movement. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, he ushered in the era for the Sankirtan movement. It is also said that for 10,000 years this era will continue. This means that simply by accepting the Sankirtan movement and chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the fallen souls of this age, Kali Yuga, will be delivered. After the battle of Kurukshetra, at which the Bhagavad Gita was spoken, Kali Yuga continues for 432,000 years, of which only 5,000 years have passed. Thus, there is still a balance of 427,000 years to come. Of these 427,000 years, the 10,000 years of the Sankirtan movement inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago provided the opportunity for the fallen souls of Kali Yuga to take to the Krishna consciousness movement, chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and thus be delivered from the clutches of material existence and return home back to Godhead.
John.
So I think that Shashi Kumar Prabhu, this was a reading for your. I wanted to direct it towards you. So if you have any questions, you can ask or make a comment.
Prabhuji. See, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, second
Prabhu.
canto, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, chapter number 2, in the text 26, it is said, at the time of final devastation of the complete universe, at the end of duration of Brahma's life, a flame of fire emanates from the mouth of Ananta. The yogi sees all the planets of the universe burning to ashes, and thus he leaves for Satyaloka by airplanes used by the great purified souls. The duration of life in Satyaloka is calculated to be 15.48 trillion years. See, in this verse, it is said that even Brahma is also having a end. Satyaloka is also Satyaloka will also get perished at the end of Brahma's lifetime, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But in the next verse, it is said, in the planet of Satyaloka, there is neither bereavement, nor old age, nor death. There is no pain of any kind. Therefore, there are no anxieties, save the sometimes due to consciousness. There is a feeling of compassion for those unaware of the process of devotional service who are subjected to unsurpassable miseries in the material world. It is said like that. It means there is, in the next verse, it is saying there is no death, there is no old age in the Satyaloka. How can it be? Only Vaikuntha is like that, right? How can Satyaloka also be like that? In the Bhagavatam itself is saying it.
Okay, so what's going on in Satyaloka? What's happening in Satyaloka? Let's see. I'm looking at the verse right now, so I'm just trying to see.
Yeah. Text 26 and 27.
Okay, 26.
Mental speculation, bro.
Yeah, this one.
Okay, yes, this one. Okay. So
Yeah, go to before or so, like 26th verse you go.
okay. At the time of final this one. Okay, let me just read it. At the time of final devastation of the complete universe, the end of the duration of Brahma's life, a flame of fire emanates from the mouth of Ananta. From the bottom of the universe, the yogi sees all the planets of the universe burning to ashes, and thus he leaves for Satyaloka by airplanes used by the great purified souls. The duration of life in Satyaloka is calculated to be, what is this?
15.48 trillion years.
Okay. So, and then the commentary here, did you read the commentary and then try to understand it?
Yeah, I read commentary also.
Okay.
Yeah, I read commentary.
Okay, so the commentary, and then you went to this verse.
Yeah, I read commentary.
So you're saying there's a
Prabhupada comments like that. That's in the next verse it is like the one who it is like about moksha is talking like foolish man. It says in the spiritual world there is no death, like that. Srila Prabhupada comments on the next verse.
Okay, so your question is why this contradictory statement?
I read the commentary for 2 times.
Huh? What? What's your question again? It's the contradictory.
Prabhu, his question is that here Satyaloka, as it we see that there is no old age or death. So it is same like Vaikuntha Lok. So how could in a material world that could be a Vaikuntha Lok? So this is his question basically, and it is contradicting that how Satyaloka can be equivalent to Vaikuntha Loka.
So just give me an example of Vrindavan, right? How Vrindavan is up, right? Golok Vrindavan. We have a perverted stage of Vrindavan material world, right? So it's almost the same, right? Vrindavan is almost the same as Golok Vrindavan. So why can't we
Yes.
have sorry, bro?
What is almost the same as Goloka Vrindavan?
Sorry. No, bro, I was saying that Golok Vrindavan, like exactly the same Krishna is given Vrindavan, right? On this material world, right? Where he came for Leelas.
Well, Bhaktisiddhanta describes that Krishna Loka is the uniquadrantal realm, and his pastimes in India were in the triquadrantal realm. So it's a little complicated, and he didn't come down in his original form, but in a series of expanded forms that ended up looking like him. And they performed these pastimes, but they never touched the soil of earth. Vrindavan became a spiritual place, and not that his feet became material objects.
To go to get you, you're saying Vrindavan was never touched by Krishna's feet.
Yes, but Vrindavan was not material. He never touched earth. He never touched the material energy.
Okay, so those pastimes which are there, right, in Vrindavan, what was?
Oh, because Vrindavan is not an ordinary place.
Okay. So
But
we
the
think we should
triquadrantal realm means that human beings could go there, as we have, but as you
Yeah.
have, but on the other side of the coin, there's another dimension to it, which is spiritual. Krishna's feet will never touch planet Earth.
So this means you're saying that Golok Vrindavan is same as Vrindavan. It's not material. We should not take it as material. All
Of
the
course not.
Brijvasis there are from Vrindavan, Golok Vrindavan, right?
Who knows? I don't know anything about where they're from, but I do know that Vrindavan is equal to Krishna Loka, and so is Mayapur. Prabhupada wrote a essay or a short book about Mayapur, describing the trees and the monkeys and cows and things that no one has ever seen in Mayapur. But it's a different dimension of Mayapur that we don't see because we have material eyes and we don't have any
Perverted eyes.
practical need to see.
You have perverted eyes, right, bro? That's why, yeah.
So in other words, the way in which the spiritual world can seemingly coincide or even become like the material world, it doesn't. Krishna does not ever come in contact with material energy. And you know what happens when Vishnu comes in contact with material energy?
Please tell me, bro. Yes.
He becomes Shiva.
Haribo. Jai.
And Shiva is described, like Vishnu is described to be like milk. And Shiva is described to be like yogurt, dahi. So you can take milk and turn it into dahi. But how do you take dahi and turn it back into milk?
Okay. That's the distinction.
Shiva, once Shiva comes in, what is the curdling, the blood curdling? What is the curdling element in that material energy? And that means Durga, that he comes in contact with the material energy. Therefore, he cannot ever regain his Vishnu quality again. So if Krishna had done that, if Krishna had come in contact with matter when he came to Vrindavan, he would not have been able to leave.
Okay, great.
But And if you read the Bhaktisiddhanta's Brahma Samhita, just in the earlier parts of it, before he gets into the big, amazing saga of the Brahma Samhita, he makes it clear exactly how Krishna can appear to appear on earth without actually ever touching earth.
Okay.
It's like Prabhupada giving the example of the soul.
Yeah.
How can the
Yeah.
soul be situated, a spiritual thing be situated in the material world? So
Vrindavan should not be taken as a material place, guys. It's spiritual
No,
place, right? Not
It's
at all.
not a material place and never has been and it never will be.
Yeah. Got it, bro. So let's answer the question of.
So Shashi Kumar Prabhu is asking that question of why does it look like? First of all, Satya Loka is not an.
I will tell you with great sadness, perhaps, I couldn't understand his question. So if you repeat the question, we can discuss it amongst
Yeah.
ourselves.
Prabhu, repeat the question, anyone.
So Ramachandra is the chairman of the board. Keep going.
Yeah.
Okay, so Shashi Kumar Prabhu's question is that it seems like in one verse, Srila Prabhupada is saying that Satya Loka is destroyed, and in the next verse, Prabhupada is saying that Satya Loka it's like a spiritual world here in this verse here. Let me project it on the screen here. Where is it? I will read it so it makes more sense to you, Narayan Prabhu, what he's saying.
Sure.
All right. So if I'm wrong, Shashi Kumar Prabhu, you can unmute yourself and then, correct me.
Yeah,
Shashi-
okay, Prabhu.
Okay, so you're saying here, this verse is saying that in Brahma's planet gets destroyed, right? Here.
Yes.
First
And then-
of all, where is this Shastra from?
Srimad Bhagavatam 2:26. Canto.
Second canto 26. Okay.
Yeah. So here it's saying that Brahma's planet gets destroyed. And then here in 27, it's saying, in the planet of Satya Loka, there is neither bereavement nor old age, nor death. There is no pain of any kind, and therefore there are no anxieties. Save that time, due to consciousness, there is a feeling of compassion for those unaware of the process of devotional service who are subjected to unsurpassable miseries in the material world. So Shashi Kumar Prabhu is saying, it seems like at one side Prabhupada is saying that the Satya Loka planet is like the spiritual world where there is no suffering, no pain of any kind. And then in the previous verse, it's saying that it's getting destroyed.
Oh,
Right?
Yeah, but that's,
Yes,
that's not
Prabhu.
a difficult thing to deal with, is it? Satya Loka is the highest planet in the material universe, and it's the one where Brahma himself resides for the entire duration of the material universe.
Mm.
And as such, people, just because people don't get the flu and spend days in bed or get COVID-19 or something of that sort, doesn't mean they can go for a whole lifetime without ever getting old or getting sick or anything. They're just, remember, it's a heavenly planet. They can survive in complete perfection, but at the end, it's the end. It's not as though that a spiritual planet is then destroyed, or that a material planet ceases to be material and becomes spiritual.
I'm not
It's just
getting
that
your answer, Prabhuji.
It's the highest heavenly planet, so they live in great everything. They don't have to get sick, okay? They don't have to die, okay? Well, they have to do something when the planet comes to an end.
They transfer
don't-
themselves to the Vaikuntha planets. And that's, I think,
Yeah.
there in the Bhagavatam.
It
That
says,
yeah, these people, these devotees in Satyaloka are very exalted devotees. So at the time of dissolution, they transfer themselves to the spiritual world. So just imagine what type of personalities are living on this Satyalok planet. It's not ordinary folks living there.
They don't have any. Put it this way:
If we go to
we cannot
Mahabharata,
speculate as to why they came at all to Satyaloka. If they had any residual karma to endure for countless gazillions of years and then go back to spiritual world,
Yeah,
it's not really, we can understand they had a reason for being there.
yes,
And not they had a reason, but that there was a
Exactly,
reason
yeah.
why they were there. And
yeah,
for them to live like that is still in the material world. It's just about as good as it gets in the material world.
yeah, very
If you
gradual.
want to be in the material world, why get sick? Why die? Why get old? You know,
Hmm.
these things, birth, death, disease, old age, are qualities of the lower planets. And we say, yeah, immediately lower planets. There's nowhere, but sometimes people live to be hundreds of thousands of years in a heavenly planet, or even millions of years. And then on Earth, you're lucky if you live 100 years.
Very much.
Right.
I think all goes to Shashi Kumar Prabhu's question, but he's
Yeah,
comparing, he's doing a sense. I mean, he's doing
a delicious question.
but he's doing a mental speculation that we can't do at all, right? As it is written, just read it and just go it, right?
Excuse me?
No, you can try to understand what is being said, but you cannot
Never
understand.
speculate.
I said you can try to understand what Prabhupada is saying, but how can you conceive what Prabhupada is saying when we're in a degraded state of consciousness?
Yeah. Because
We-
Prabhu, sometimes our mind is like very much polluted, right? So we can't judge in our mind. Just
Well, no, we can't. Well, we can't. We can't compare anyone else's body to ours.
Yes.
If you look
Yeah.
at
not
it,
actually
you say, what sort of a life is that? It could be a germ or a fruit fly. What sort of life is that? We look at them, because I will live to be so many years,
Mm.
and the fruit fly will live to be some couple of days. So I said, what a ridiculous life. But if you ask the fruit fly, this is my life. I like it the way it is. And I don't appreciate you talking about how you're going to live.
yes, it's my brain. It's my
Right.
brain. It's my mind.
It's mine,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it's just,
that's the
and
problem.
my
Haribo.
life is just important to me as yours is to you. And you know who's
Yeah.
saying that? The fruit fly is saying, but do you know who is really saying it? The jiva.
Jiva, yeah.
The jiva, the fruit fly is a jiva equal exactly to you and me.
Yeah.
Part and
Jiva-
parcel of Krishna means infinitesimal, part and parcel of Krishna. So who's more infinitesimal, a fruit fly or a human being?
Yeah, the consciousness is different.
There's no comparison, because the jiva is what is the infinitesimal part. The bodies come and go. And everybody that gets a body absolutely believes this is right for me.
Hmm.
I guess this guy, Prabhu, he's again and again, Prabhuji is
Even a dog
satisfied
covered
with
with
it.
sores and starving likes it if you feed him and pat him on the head.
Okay, so
I don't say he's enjoying his body, but he accepts it, okay? Just like we accept our bodies. What if we were demigods? Would we accept the body we're in now?
no.
We
No way.
We
No,
would,
not
we would walk
No
out,
way.
we would go out of our way to avoid someone that looked like you and me if we were demigods. In fact, that's what the demigods are doing. They're staying out of our lives, aren't they?
Right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Why? There's nothing attractive about my life or yours, but we find it attractive. Why? Because we chose it.
Sasikumar Prabhu, can you further ask a question or make a comment, because we're having this discussion regarding your point and how the consciousness and the planets, things are different in different lokas. So are
It's
you
your time. It's your time, guys. Shashi Kumar, bro, go ahead, please. You were saying something in between. Haribol.
Actually,
Okay.
I'm not understand anything what you are speaking.
But did you see the distinction? Did you see how
He's
the
not
person-
understanding it. He's saying he's not understanding the difference in consciousness of a person in Satya Loka, in Brahma Loka, than someone in, in a different
Los
Loka.
Angeles?
You've
Los
answered
Angeles.
the question, right, Ramachandra, bro? You
Hmm?
just answered his question, right? You've just answered his question. The difference between the consciousness, right? That's the answer, correct answer, of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's all about
I just
consciousness.
wanted to know, is there death in the Satya Loka or not?
And if somebody in Satyaloka misused his life in Satyaloka, then he'd have to go down and take birth in a heavenly planet somewhere where he had an experience of, birth
Death.
and death and all that.
You're saying death. Death means for the material body, even we don't die.
Yeah.
Death. Even Brahma
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah. Even we don't die. It is for material body.
Yes. So these living entities like Brahma, they can transfer themselves. Meaning, it's said in the Bhagavatam that
Okay.
they transfer themselves to the spiritual world. They've been given a temporary
Okay.
position, and from there they can transfer out to the spiritual world. So why is
From my
it?
understanding, not all of them, but that
See,
Brahma or Brahman is a pure devotee. But I've heard that, and I could be wrong, but I've heard that
See,
Prabhupada said that there are Brahmas, there's innumerable Brahmas. Some of them have
Prabhuji.
hundreds or thousands of heads.
Mummy
The
upar.
number of heads of Brahma has determines how big his universe is.
Okay,
if
so
Brahma has 1,000 heads, it's a huge universe. But our Brahma has 4 heads, it's a tiny universe.
so Sasikumar Prabhu, is things making sense, or is it we're making a mess?
Yes.
So answer is exactly the difference between the consciousness, right?
Hmm.
Of ours with the
Hello.
Loka which we. Hello.
Can you hear me, Prabhu?
Yes,
Yeah. Go
yes,
ahead.
we can hear you, but you're cutting in and out. I'm not sure. Maybe your connection is bad or something. But you can type your question, or you can speak it, or make a comment, whatever you like.
Haribol.
Or express your realization.
Jai.
Jai. Pro, can you read after Shashi Kumar's Pro has done? Can you read that Arjuna's verse, please, if possible? I
What
want
verse?
to relish that. I mean, his relationship with Krishna and what Prabhupada has written about Arjuna.
Okay. So Arjuna, Vinayak Prabhu is online, so we'd like to thank him for joining, Prabhu. Vinayak Prabhu, do you want to make a comment, question, share a realization, or anything like that in the meantime?
Yeah, Prabhu, like
Hello. Shall I speak?
Vinayak Prabhu, just one sec. Let Shashi Kumar Prabhu, he's been trying. Yeah, go ahead, Shashi. Bro, Shashi Kumar
In
Prabhu, go ahead.
Vaikunta, yeah. Whoever goes to Vaikunta will never come back. And whoever the inhabitants of Vaikunta are like God, Vishnu only. But why? How did Jaya and Vijaya came to material world and take birth as demons and get killed by Lord Krishna and again went to Vaikunta? I'm not getting it.
Mental speculation.
Jaya Vijaya also not having that.
Again. Yeah.
Vinayak Prabhu, do you want to answer Shashi Kumar's question? Jai and Vijay Prabhu, they were in Vaikunta, and Krishna says that.
This question was asked by my friend when I said there is no death in Vaikunta. Whoever goes to Vaikunta will never come back, and the inhabitants of Vaikunta are like Vishnu himself, like that. And I said, and he said Jaya Vijaya came to world, right? Like that. He asked me. I got bewildered. What to answer? I didn't know, so I asked you.
You got bewildered because the Lord's servants seemingly made a mistake and got cursed, and they came to the material world to enact a pastime, and they returned to the spiritual world. What's so hard to understand? I mean, it's a pastime, you know. So
Yeah,
why is it so hard to understand?
There's a big difference between being in Krishna Loka, looking up at a desire tree, saying, I wonder what it would be like to be worshipped just like Krishna, and boing, there you are, a king surrounded by loving subjects. You know, that's
Exactly.
one thing. But for Jai and Vijay, they just didn't want to let the four Kumaras in, and that annoyed the four Kumaras, these four little naked little 2-year-old, 3-year-old boys demanding to come in to see Narayan, annoyed. They were annoyed by the gatekeepers refusing to let them in. So he cursed them, which is possible. It's
So
like
this is all
Arjuna
Krishna's Leela, right?
by,
Krishna does these
Indra's
Leelas,
help.
right?
I'm sorry.
Bro, this is all Krishna's Leela, right? We don't know the past deeds of these guys, right? So it's all Krishna's
no,
Leela.
they are completely liberated souls.
Exactly. Yes, yes,
They don't
yes.
have any karma.
Yes,
And
exactly.
they didn't get karma by being cursed. They
Yeah.
just had to go. They were given a choice, I think, to take 8 births as a devotee on earth or 4 as a demon.
Yeah.
And they said, we would rather be demons, even though it's horrible. We'd rather be demons because 4 births is shorter than 8 births, so we want to come back immediately to where we were off.
Who would take 8 births and then come back? So, so that was Krishna's Leela. So, Prabhu, understanding Krishna's Leela is very difficult. You can't put your material brain and then go inside that. Shashikumar Prabhu, it's very tough.
You have to just deal with it. You have to deal with the event. You have to deal with what happened. And what happened is not a question of trying to understand. It's just knowing what happened. So the 4 Kumaras came. They wanted to go in. Vijay said no. The 4 Kumaras cursed them. The gatekeepers had misunderstood the status of these 4 boys. And so they had to take birth in planet Earth. We're not trying to put our head inside of it, quite the opposite. For us to have Istagosthi, we have to take our head out of it and allow Paramatma to guide our thoughts, feelings, and words.
Exactly, yeah.
That's where we are. It's in Istagosthi.
I guess, Prabhu, these questions are answered when you're doing pure chanting. Sorry to offend anyone. If you're doing pure chanting, automatically Krishna will answer these questions from inside, right?
Yeah,
Or if you read Prabhupada's books, the questions will be answered also.
Yeah, Prabhupada's book, especially Krishna book. Many times Krishna is teaching people, not these people a lesson, they're teaching the conditioned souls a lesson. Don't think like this. Don't think that, these living entities are ordinary living entities.
Yeah, these are big souls, right?
You know why Prabhupada wrote the Krishna book, right?
Sorry, Prabhu? No,
You know
Prabhu,
why
come again?
Prabhupada wrote the Krishna book?
to make available of
If he
Krishna
wrote the
consciousness
Srimad Bhagavatam,
available.
the people on earth filled with lust, desire for females, as they are, would have rushed quickly to the 10th canto without reading anything else.
Exactly, yeah. You got it, yeah.
So Prabhupada wrote the Krishna book to entertain everybody, including children, about all of Krishna's pastimes, including his pastimes with gopis, without getting into the incredibly intricate and erotic details of the pastimes. If you want to be part of what I'm referring to as erotic pastimes between Krishna and the gopis and Krishna, then you have to start with the first canto of the Bhagavatam and read it to realize the first canto, then realize the second canto, realize the third canto, as you go up. And when you get to 10th canto, by that time, if you've realized everything in the first cantos, everything 10th canto will be, you will not be affected by lust. You'll have become a pure devotee by that time.
A perverted mind will not come there, if you have understood, right?
I'm sorry?
Through a perverted mind will not come there if you have understood canto from 1 to 10, right? So that
Well,
perverted
yeah,
mind.
well, I mean, you can read whatever you like, but when I was in New York in 1968, Brahmananda got a hold of some writings of the Goswamis. And he thought, it would be interesting to read what this esoteric stuff is outside of what Prabhupada has written. And by that time, Prabhupada had only written the Chaitanya chart, the nectar of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Is the only book we really had. And we had the original, the old Gitas. No, we didn't even have those. We really didn't have much in the way of, we could lecture on Krishna consciousness, but we didn't have any books to work from. So he was reading from it. And when he was reading from it, the gopis are putting their feet on Krishna's chest, or Krishna's putting his feet on the gopis' breasts, and they are scratching them erotically with their fingernails. I mean, we'd looked around at each other, and we were brahmacharis, and it was nice back then because we didn't have to fake it. We really were brahmacharis. And Brahmananda looked at us, and we looked at Brahmananda, and he said, "We can't read this.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't read this. If we were to read this without any human sexual feeling being aroused, we would have to be pure. And we read it and we are treating it like erotic literature, which it is, but it's only erotic on the transcendental platform. If we could understand it from there, then we could read it. But no neophyte can read things like that. Therefore, read all the cantos and not just read them, realize them. Krishna's feet, Krishna's ankles, Krishna's knees, Krishna's thighs, Krishna's waist, Krishna's chest, Krishna's arms. And then you get up to Krishna's head at the very end. Each canto represents another part of Krishna's body.
Yeah. Correct. Quality chanting, bro. I guess it does wonders if you're doing quality chanting, right?
Yes. But the main thing about chanting is never mind that you will benefit, because when you heard, okay, could I ask you, Prabhu, where were you when you heard the Hare Krishna mantra first?
In the temple. First time in the temple, 2013.
Yes. Was Prabhupada there, or was after Prabhupada was there?
Prabhupada was there. So it was Jaipur temple, right? Hare Krishna moment.
You were there? He was there?
Prabhupada, no. Prabhupada's, Samadhi was there. Sorry. Don't.
Acha, yes. Okay.
Not present.
So you heard the Hare Krishna mantra, but I would assume you probably heard the mantra before you walked in the temple. Otherwise, why did you go in the temple?
I guess I've not heard, bro. I've heard always the mantra the first time in the temple hall only. So there was a devotee who was
good. So you heard it. And do you know what happened when you heard it?
Tell me, bro. What's your point, huh?
Your going back to Godhead is guaranteed.
By
hearing the Hare Krishna mantra once, you're going back to Godhead is guaranteed. The next question is, oh, really? Okay, that's great. I heard it now. When do I go back to Godhead? Well, when you have reduced your material attachment to zero.
Yeah.
In other words, when you become purified, yeah. And how do I become purified? Chant to every living entity. Feel compassion for others. Be generous with your heart. Does that make sense?
Yeah, bro. Of course.
So if I'm thinking about how I'm going to become pure, more and more pure, that won't get me back to Godhead. It can get me to be very well educated in Krishna consciousness, and I'll make a lot of advancement. But going back to Godhead means you need to be kind and merciful and give away the holy name of Krishna. Just like in the time of Lord Chaitanya, there was this person who was given the mantra by his guru, and his guru said, under no circumstance should you let anyone else hear this, because it is that special that whoever hears it will be immediately induced to love God. So the word got out that the man was going here, there, and everywhere, teaching everyone the forbidden mantra that his guru told him not to chant, not to share. And he was dragged in front of his guru and said, "Why have you done that?" I said, "Not to." And he said, "How can I not do it? If I've gotten this good fortune from you in the form of this mantra, I cannot help but give it to others. How can I be so selfish? How can I be so," even if he said, "You're not afraid that you will go to hell for going against the teaching of your guru?" He said, "Even I go to hell, I will give that mantra in hell." Why? Because I cannot keep it to myself. I'm sorry, if you gave me that mantra, maybe now you regret it and you wish you hadn't given it to me. But you did give it to me, and now I'm giving it to everyone. That is what the Hare Krishna mantra is like. We cannot keep it to ourselves, and we can't consider it a treasure for our own consumption. You see, like if you go to a Hindu guru, you can get mantras you can do, or go to a yogi, you can get mantras, so many things you can get, secret stuff to take you to somewhere. But the somewhere is already given to you by Lord Chaitanya. The Maha Mantra, when you hear it once, you're already saved. That means you don't need to have a guru, you don't need to have diksha, you don't need anything. You can take diksha from ISKCON, from Prabhupada in ISKCON. I'm not talking ripping, I'm just talking about you take initiation, because Prabhupada said ISKCON is my body. So you go to ISKCON and say, "How do I take diksha?" And they'll say, "Well, we're going to have a ceremony next Sunday, would like to take part in it." "Sure, what's going on?" "Well, we have 10 people who are getting initiated." "Oh, really? Who is their guru?" "Their guru is ISKCON, their guru is Prabhupada." The purpose of diksha is to separate you, and with the Agnihotra, Bhavitra, the purpose of the Agnihotra is to burn up your karma. So when you come and surrender and you go to the Agnihotra, it burns up your karma. And you might say, "Well, doesn't ISKCON have so many gurus?" Well, yeah, but are they pure? Are they pure devotees? If they're not pure devotees, in the Agnihotra, the karma will be burned out and transferred to the guy that's initiating you, like Kirtanananda or someone like that. Can you imagine ending up bound for lifetimes to Kirtanananda instead of
Very
Krishna?
tough to handle,
instead of
bro. These
Prabhupada?
karmas are very tough to handle. Prabhupada can handle, but
I'm sorry, go ahead.
so these karmas are very tough to handle. If you've initiated, these karmas are very tough to handle. That only Prabhupada could handle. He was a pure devotee.
Well, yes, that's it. Oh, you can give your karma to anyone, you know. When you get married, your wife gives her karma to you. And when you have children, they give their karma to your family. That's where your job begins. Not with the fun of conceiving a child, but when the child is born, oh, how cute, a lovely baby, look at the dress and everything like that. All of those things can be there. But the main thing is, from that point onward, your job is to purify those who took birth from you and your mate, your wife.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you become the guru. So what does that mean? So if I'm the guru, then I take on all the karma? Yes. Well, what do I do with the karma? Take shelter of Prabhupada. He will take on your karma. But I want to take shelter of Jayapataka, or I want to take shelter of somebody else, or Rameshwar, or Bhagavan, or I want to take shelter of one of them. Well, go ahead. What will happen? They will accept your karma because they've put themselves in the line of fire. They're saying, if you become my disciple, I will take on your karma. I know, but don't they think that that karma is going to be transferred to Prabhupada? Are they pure enough for that to happen?
That's the point. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be 100% pure for the karma to be transferred from the disciple to the intermediary guru to the next guru. If you take shelter of Prabhupada, he accepts your karma, it goes to, and you are purified by Krishna. If somebody else initiates you, you go as far as they go. In the
Gone
case of
case. Then you're a
Kirtananda,
gone
it could
case.
be a pretty scary place.
Yeah, you're gone case then, bro.
So
Nothing can happen to
Kirtananda got to have a lot of fun. He got to be a guru. He got to be in charge of thousands of people. He got to have lots of sex with little children. He got to have homosexual sex with his boyfriend. And then he died. And whoever took initiation from him, as they die, they'll go to him,
Yeah.
not to Prabhupada.
Okay, so I'd like to go to our YouTube questions from people who are watching online.
Oh, yeah, by the way, are you going to read anything from that paper also?
We might not get a chance. We can do another meeting tomorrow specifically for that. If
No, that's okay. Whatever.
Bro, my request, please just read that Arjuna verse, right? If
oh yes,
Prabhupada-
your request is there too, right?
Please,
So-
please, bro.
Okay. So you want to know about Krishna and Arjuna, how they
What
appear
goes
together?
on?
How they
Yeah,
appear together? Okay. All right. So let me do that 1 second, and let me just ask that
Krishna
question.
and Arjuna are always together. They take different
Yeah.
forms and they go different places as friends.
Hmm.
That's why in the Bhagavad Gita, it's almost ridiculous when Krishna says to Arjuna, now is the time for friendly talks to cease. Why? Because Krishna and Arjuna are the archetypal quintessential friends. But
definitely.
sounded as though, well, they were friends and they showed up at the Battle of Kurukshetra.
So
But
they're
they
an
were
epitome
friends
of
before the
friendship.
Battle of Kurukshetra in different pastimes on different planets, including this one.
Friendship should be carried as Lord Krishna and Arjuna had. They're an epitome of how friendship should be taken as, right? Hello. Bro, they are an epitome of friendship, right? For this material world, right? How friendship should be done, right?
Well, of
They
course.
explain. Yeah.
But when they became Narayan in Bhadranath, in the north part, where north of Hardwar, they were equals. Now, of course, Arjuna is a jiva, and Krishna
Agree.
is the
Agree.
original personality of Godhead. But they were acting like equals. In fact, they were acting like twins. So much so that the demigods didn't know it was Krishna and Arjuna. They thought it was just two very powerful yogis. And they wanted to tempt the yogis so that the yogis wouldn't start messing with them, like restricting the airflow of the universe and stuff like that, the way Dhruva did. So they sent down gorgeous girls to tempt Krishna and Arjuna in the form of Nara and Narayan. And they, without batting an eye, manifested a beautiful girl that was more beautiful by far than the one that the demigods sent down to tempt them, and went up, and the demigods laid off because they were more interested in the girl than in destroying Nara and Narayan.
Yes. Messing up with the Supreme Lord, right? You
Yeah.
can't do anything. Why to mess with them? Yeah.
Yeah, these things are all pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, Ramachandra, go ahead.
So what's
Hmm.
happening with Ramachandra?
Okay.
Actually,
Yes.
go on to the next.
Mohit Prabhu, I'm trying to find your request, but I'm having some trouble finding it. So we might
No
need to.
issues. We'll do it next time. No
Yeah.
issues, bro.
Yeah. I'll find it and I'll send it to you and we'll read it online. So let's go to
Sure.
the questions online. All right. So these questions are from our devotees online. Let's see. So his Bangladesh SPK is asking, Srila Prabhupada wanted his disciples to write many books. Why Ritvik say don't read any other books? So that's the first question.
And where did Prabhupada say that?
Say what?
That he wanted his disciples to write many books.
Yeah. Is it written? Exactly.
Oh, yes,
Ask
where
that.
does
Ask that guy. Yeah.
so Bangladesh Prabhu, where does Srila Prabhupada say that he wanted his disciples to write many, many books, or many books? And then Bangladesh SPK asked the question, Prabhupada appreciated the fact that devotees wrote articles in BTG, Back to Godhead, and he appreciated those devotees who had literary inclinations and wrote books, and especially when they wrote books which are properly according to Siddhanta. He was very pleased and personally displayed the book to other disciples and guests, and he appreciated those books.
Appreciation. There's a difference between appreciation and written, right? Show it to us that where is it written. Appreciation is okay. Just tell him. Show it to us.
Yeah,
One of the
Prabhupada actually.
I am not aware of Prabhupada showing any books written by his disciples to other disciples.
No, it
Yeah.
was the scientific precepts of Krishna consciousness by Swarup Damodar Das Goswami.
Oh, that.
Yeah.
But that's not Krishna conscious topics. That's a way of trying to bring the bridge between the Bhagavatam, like fifth canto, describing the nature of the universe, and the modern man. Yes, Swarup Damodar, yeah, and the others, the whole scientific group. Yes, that Prabhupada did want, but that's not Shastra.
Yeah,
It's
but
simply scientific writing based not on Western thought, but based on Shastric revelations.
Yeah,
But it's
based
not
on Prabhupada's teachings. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's based on Prabhupada's teachings, but it wasn't. Prabhupada's teachings are not Prabhupada's teachings. Prabhupada was teaching us Shastra. He was teaching us the different cantos. The fifth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam
Yes.
describes the entire configuration of the universe. So if Swarup Damodar wrote about that, then Prabhupada, of course, was pleased. I was with on many morning walks with Prabhupada and Swarup Damodar, and he would always say, Mr. Scientist, this, Mr. Scientist, that. And you challenge him and tweak him and get him to talk about ideas, scientific ideas. Then he would align those ideas of Swarup Damodar, how they could be Krishna conscious expression rather than just
Then
atheistic.
Prabhupada would say, these rascal scientists. Yeah. Very well.
Oh, sure, because the rascal scientist is not based on Shastra.
Yeah, exactly.
He's based on observation. One of the best examples of that was Mark Twain. The author wrote about insects crossing a railroad track, the rails and the rocks and everything, and crossing a railroad track, coming up with all these scientific theories and postulates as to what they were experiencing. They were insects. They had no idea about trains or railroad tracks. They were just observing the universe, really, and making comments about it the way our scientists do. They look out in the telescope and they start interpreting what they see. But they don't know what they're seeing. They don't even know they're looking at other entities looking at us.
It's indirectly their mind which is speaking in their books, right? Nothing from Shastra. Their mind.
Yeah, it's just concocted.
Yeah.
And out of the concoction, if they're bright and they come up with nice theories, they can make money with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I have also heard from Srila Prabhupada some lectures that he was encouraging that if you have nice mind, if you have creative ability, then you must write books and articles to spread Krishna consciousness. So I think the question was that the person who was asking that question on YouTube, he mistook the question. Generally, Ritvik organizations say that don't read edited books, but we can read the articles which people have written out of their Krishna consciousness and with a proper subtitle of their author, instead of writing their own article and writing the name of Prabhupada as its author.
I
So,
totally
Well,
get
yeah.
your point, but bro, you have to, see through those books, right? What is right, what is wrong. Otherwise, you will get deviated and get lost, right?
Exactly. So what
Yeah.
Srila Prabhupada wanted with Back to Godhead is he wanted devotees to discuss topical issues in the light of Krishna conscious Siddhanta. That's what he wanted. In other words, he wanted people to make political commentary from a platform of knowledge rather than from a platform of ignorance. That's what he wanted, but they didn't. Satsarup decided that, we're just going to have, it's going to be like a fun yearbook, and we're just going to have pictures of gopis and cows, and women and cows and babies, and a little bit of tiny insights of Krishna consciousness here and there. But Prabhupada wanted it to be a broadside magazine. Broadside means to attack all sorts of external ideas. Meaning material, how to attack material philosophy from a new point of view. What is a new point of view? Shastra, Prabhupada Siddhanta. So you go to Prabhupada Siddhanta and answer the questions of the world. I had a chance to do that one time in a conference on the Bhagavad Gita that was being held by Mayavadis and yogis. I was the only devotee there. And this is many years ago in Ohio somewhere, in a university, Oberlin maybe. And I made some comments about how the demigods must use Shastra to increase the crops. You see? So you have so many theories. How do you get better agriculture? Well, the Bhagavad Gita right in the beginning describes how the Lord, men and demigods and etc. and Jagya, and be thou satisfied with this Jagya. So I was pointing out in that meeting, Jagya is how you get the crops. Now, I was only about a year in the movement, but this 1969. So what happened is, in that meeting with all those people there, I'm the only Prabhupada disciple or Vaishnava in that group. All the people that were ready to rush off into the wilderness of mental speculation about how to develop agriculture, they all deferred to my comments. As the gentleman over there said, and they kept on talking about the Jagya that I mentioned. You see what happened? That's what Prabhupada wanted Back to Godhead to be like. He wanted it to be a place where we discuss what everyone discusses, but we discuss from Shastra point of view. And then we try our best, successfully or maybe not so successfully, to tie the Shastra into current events. But at least we try. But that's a lot different than somebody setting up and translating the books of the Goswamis or something and considering this must be considered by Prabhupada to be bona fide.
Yeah, exactly.
So go ahead.
But
So
Prabhu,
what's the next question?
in those times, Prabhu, I remember there were few devotees in the movement. who used to discuss these Goswami literatures with Prabhupada, like Pradyumna Prabhu and these. So in those times, Prabhupada did not stop them from reading like Jaiv Dharma or Harinam Chintamani, these books. So in present day, if someone translates them, then what's the problem?
Well, first of all, which books, which people? Because I'm not aware that Prabhupada ever encouraged. Why? Because it leads to mental speculation. It leads to being a sahaja. It leads to turning the Krishna, that's really gopis, into a sexual orgy rather than a sacred event.
Maybe some like generic philosophy books like Jaiv Dharma or Harinam Chintamani. Maybe these books
Well,
would
maybe.
be.
Well, what? Tell me which ones. Tell me who and which books and what did he say and when did he say it?
Because
See, that's the point.
Pradyumna Prabhu was.
We can, in 2,000 years, are we going to be making up things that Prabhupada said? You know, we have to be accurate now and twice as accurate in 1,000 years. Right? Because otherwise it'll just turn into a fantasy world.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we don't want to distract people to other so-called guru, this guru, that guru. You know, we want people to read Prabhupada's books and to chant Hare Krishna. This is what we want. We don't want them to, you know, deviate from this principle.
The main thing is, Prabhupada said the only reason to read his books is to understand why we chant. And then when we chant, then we follow Lord Chaitanya, who says, wherever you go, whomever you meet, simply speak of Krishna. Our job is to understand how to chant, why to chant Hare Krishna. And if it takes a book, reading a book to show us why to chant Hare Krishna to others, then we will. But if we're only trying to get our own education, our own salvation, our own, what good will it do us at the time of death? We'll be a very educated corpse. What will the value be? We don't need that. We need to deliver the world with the Maha Mantra. That's what Prabhupada wants, that's what Krishna wants. Why should we think otherwise?
All right. So, Vinayak Prabhu, do you want to comment or make a statement or share realization? We're coming to the last 15 minutes of our discussion.
You ran out of comments from people?
Okay, let me see what other comments the devotees have put online. Let's see, we got. Then there's that same devotee, Bangladesh SPK. Prabhupada books. What is the need to read other books, either by ISKCON devotees or previous acharyas? When everything is there in Srila Prabhupada's books, what is the need to read other books by either by ISKCON devotees or previous acharyas? Is that correct?
You've already answered your question, my dear.
Yeah, that's what Prabhupada said.
Yes.
What is the need?
What's the need?
He's
You've
given
already answered
everything.
your question.
We have to remember one little detail, that Krishna, everything Prabhupada did was being directed directly by Krishna.
Right.
And Krishna is God. So there's no room for mental speculation. It's not like Prabhupada was a human or that he left room for us to be humans. We think of ourselves as humans because we're kanista adhikaris, we're neophytes. But if we were to become self-realized, we wouldn't see ourselves as humans, we'd see ourselves as pure spirit soul, right? Is it not?
Exactly. Yeah, correct, bro.
Jai, yes.
Point target. Haribol, Jai.
Are you sure you don't have time to read anything from that paper? I'm just curious as to how it was received.
Oh no, we can read it because there's no more questions anymore. So
Sure, I would appreciate it because we don't know how people will take it.
all right, let me put it up on the screen. Zoom in a little bit.
It's always a pleasure to be with Nana Prabhu and Ramachandra Prabhu. You guys are superb knowledge and
And what about being with you?
devotee. Prabhu,
You
I am
will
a
become-
fallen soul. Haribol.
every day we meet, you become more and more pure spirit soul.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah,
All your
well,
blessings, Prabhupada's blessings,
you
Krishna's
don't have
mercy.
to thank me. It's a simple fact, right? Aham Brahmasmi means spirit soul. So you are
Very-
spirit soul. When we give up all of the acculturations in our conversations, then we can relish the truth. And we can
Yeah.
actually introduce, and when we become advanced, we can enter into states of transcendental ecstasy in Istagosthi.
Jai.
But we're working on it. It's a work in progress.
Okay, bro. Got it.
Okay, so here it is, this document we have. So this is the question. Is the direction of management a legitimate direct order by Srila Prabhupada and as such not subject to any type of disobedience by his initiated disciples? Number one, yes, all direct orders by Srila Prabhupada actually descend from Krishna Loka. There is no question of, quote, mistake or, quote, human error. The direct written order of the bona fide spiritual master who is in his eternal rasa with Krishna must be considered to be as an infallible as Lord Krishna himself, must be considered to be as infallible as Lord Krishna himself. Number two, no initiated disciple of the Uttamadhikari spiritual master can be considered to be infallible. Even residents of Krishna Loka who came to earth to participate as disciples of Lord Chaitanya did not represent themselves as infallible, in spite of the fact that they were unquestionably were. So you're saying that, the Uttamadhikari spiritual master, he doesn't present himself like some big person.
Well, no, in the context of Lord Chaitanya, Rupa Goswami didn't say, hey, I'm Rupa Manjari.
Right.
Everyone showed deference to one another, both in terms of the Krishna Loka etiquette, which they were all posthumously taken care of on earth, but on earth they were taking roles by which they weren't lording it over one another. Simple as that. If you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you'll see that these people are just a bunch of ordinary people having an extraordinarily good time, But they weren't. They were and residents of Krishna Loka. They weren't pulling their rank. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, it's a pretty big contrast when you put it into the present day ISKCON Guru situation where they're lording it over the disciples and everyone else, So, right.
Well, they think that they're Hindus, but they're not.
Okay. Number three, each and every initiated disciple must remain 100% obedient to the direct order of the bona fide spiritual master. Written such order is written or spoken by the descendant spiritual master. Okay. Number four, the absolute relationship of the disciple to his Uttamadhikari spiritual master is accept everything that has been spoken, written by the spiritual master, and do not reject anything that has been spoken, written by the bona fide spiritual master. Number five, the Uttamadhikari spiritual master is factually none different than Krishna. Okay, so we have this devotee who was commenting online. His name is Bangladesh SPK. He is joining us, so maybe I'll give him
He's joined.
Yes.
No, he's joined. Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam, Haribol. How are you,
Hare
Prabhu?
Krishna, Dandot Pranam. Hare Krishna. Dandot Pranam, Narayana Prabhuji and all the Vaishnavas. Hare Krishna, Dandot Pranam. Thanks for asking that question.
Yes, please. Who's this? This is my friend from Facebook, huh? What's your name?
Surprises.
Yeah, yes, Prabhu. Yeah, so
That's you, huh?
I'm not sure, Prabhu. No, I'm not so active in Facebook, but yeah, I'm part of your WhatsApp group, Prabhu.
Okay. Please, yes. If you had any doubts, any questions, please ask. So now you're live. now's your chance, because we tried to get people. We're trying to get people to chant Hare Krishna and read Prabhupada's books. We don't want them to read Radhanath Swami's books or Bir Krishna's book or anyone else's book. We want to give them the direct message from Prabhupada's book as it is. Why do people need to read any other book? Prabhupada came and gave the books. Why do we need to read anything else? Right?
They're trying to duplicate. They're trying to be duplicates of Prabhupada without the slightest qualification to do so. I mean, you take someone like Bir Krishna or Radhanath, they're doing very nice service. But then they decided to become gurus. That gives them a job to do that they can't do, which is trying to be equal to Prabhupada, which they end up making fools of themselves, I hate to say.
And of course, duplicate is always duplicate, guys.
So Bangladesh Prabhu, thank you,
Prabhupada. There's no need for, there's a mini Sampradaya coming down from Lord Chaitanya with Lord Nityananda as Balaram.
So Bangladesh Prabhu,
enough to get Prabhupada to America. Everything else is Prabhupada has already done. All we have to do is follow in his footsteps.
Yes, Bangladesh Prabhu, go ahead. We have a few minutes. So go ahead.
So my only I got that, Prabhu. So I'm not in support of anyone like who wants to be gurus and supersede Prabhupada's teaching. My point is not that one, Prabhu. For example, if someone is practicing for many years and he has sound understanding of Prabhupada's philosophy, so why can't we connect the correct aspects of the current situations and then glorify our parampara or our siddhanta? For example, if you see, Prabhu, for example, I stay in South India, Prabhu, in Andhra Pradesh. So here there is lot of like other Vaishnava sects who tell, okay, Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No, he is avatara only. He is not avatari. So it's ISKCON people will fabricate this fact. But if you see, there is enough Shastra to prove, okay, that there is a multi universe, and also even in the Vishnu Sahasranama itself, it is clearly told that Krishna is the source of all other incarnations and all. But many people, they are diverting, Prabhu. If someone has a sound understanding on Prabhupada books, why can't we complement his teachings and find it from some other references and establish that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Can we not endeavor to write that kind of teachings to glorify Prabhupada's contributions and also support someone else who is doing that, not in sense of being a guru, Prabhu. It's just to elevate the things which Prabhupada conclusively told in a very simple way. So is that allowed, or we should only restrict to whatever Prabhupada say and just accept that? Because Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead itself, is the entire essence of all Vedas, Prabhu. But in order to establish that, especially in the area which I am staying, that requires a very sound philosophical backing up and also proofs, okay, to the many people actually, because there is a lot of confusion. Okay, Vishnu is supreme, not Krishna. So if we can clarify this through some literatures, that which Prabhupada gave in a very conclusive way, but if we can convince the people over here to take up these points of Prabhupada, so isn't it a good service, Prabhu? So I just wanted to ask this question, Prabhu, because that's been there in my mind from many days, but I always hear that, oh no, you should never touch any other books than Prabhupada, or never deviate yourself from any other things. But there is a need for these kind of things at this moment is what I'm thinking, Prabhu. So please clarify and elaborate this, Prabhu. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so you asked a very important question, that you're trying to establish Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by reading Prabhupada's books and then presenting it. So if you read Prabhupada's books, Prabhupada is all doing that directly from Srimad Bhagavatam, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So in that verse, Srila Prabhupada is describing who this Supreme Personality of Godhead is, who that person is. So you can just repeat what Prabhupada has said. And
but there were many famous saints, so-called very famous saints, that were very influential here, who won't directly accept Srimad Bhagavatam, but they will accept Puranas and they will quote that, okay, whatever you are telling is just mentioned here, but there are many other places in many other Vedas actually saying that Narayana is Supreme Personal Godhead, not Krishna. You ISKCON people are fabricating. So isn't it, I felt that there is a great necessity for us to establish this fact, because in order to propagate Srila Prabhupada books as per that time, place, circumstance, especially in the local areas, we need to break some of the misconceptions of people, Prabhu. So for that, isn't it allowed to take support from all other sastras and compile them and establish, okay, whatever Prabhupada told is supreme? Is this kind of thing allowed or not allowed?
That is given by the commentaries of the Acharya. Srila Prabhupada, it said Acharya Van Purusho Veda. So whatever the Acharyas have established, we have to follow. So, I mean, if the other Acharyas are saying Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what's wrong with that? Prabhupada is already
Personality of Godhead. Krishna came from them. So actually, Krishna is, you will say he's avatari, but he's not avatari, he's just avatara.
So you see, you have to preach, how are you going to preach to the Sri Vaishnavas? They've been doing that for, lifetime after lifetime. They're coming in Brahmin families, worshipping Shalagram, Shilas, this and that. So these ISKCON devotees, I mean, if they are Vaishnavas, from Sri Vaishnavas, and they take up Krishna consciousness, Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, let them talk to them. Why are we going to go tell these other devotees who are worshipping Lord Krishna that, hey, you worship like ISKCON people? Let their own people who have been convinced that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead by reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and let them preach just like you are. I'm sure you are coming from that background and you've convinced that, so you can figure that out, no? I mean,
so that kind of thing is allowed, Prabhu, so to establish a fact told by Prabhupada, to clearly give the normal innocent people the strong conviction of what our Prabhupada told, rather than just deviating them to other so-called big gurus. So is that fine if we can?
Prabhu, you will get deviated someday. Someday you will get deviated, and that would be an issue.
See,
Narayan Prabhu, what you have to say, Narayan Prabhu? He's asking a question which, is.
Can you clarify the question,
nice.
please?
One thing, just before, there were some aspects related to while we are preaching that may not be directly accepting. For example, I'm from South India, Prabhu. Here there is a lot of influence here. So especially all the Mayavadas and Sri Vaishnavas, in order to irrevocably establish a fact, directly saying that, okay, Prabhupada told Krishna Supreme Personality of Godhead, means they won't listen. So in order to establish that fact, can we not do some research and systematically convince people by writing some literature or philosophy? Is this my question, bro? Sorry for that.
You'll get lost then. Let Prabhu answer. Yeah. No, Prabhu, go ahead, please. Yeah.
Go ahead.
He's asking by reading Srila Prabhupada's books and then getting the Siddhanta, the essence, and presenting it to these devotees who are Vaishnavas, who worship Lord Vishnu or Lord Narayan or Lord Ramachandra as the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah,
he wants to.
ISKCON people, whatever you are telling books is not so authorized. Just if we tell that, okay, your guru told that, but it's not authorized. That's what they will say, Prabhu. There is a lot of mass people connected to them, and they are getting diverted because of these people saying that, okay, whatever Prabhupada wrote, no, those are your own philosophy. This is the context, Prabhu, just to clarify.
Okay. So Narayan Prabhu, are you understanding his English?
Yeah, it's not just pure Sri Vaishnavas, it's all many people who they will do samasrams, Prabhu. So they will massively propagate and they will initiate into their sampradaya. And while telling them, if we try to convince or if we try to preach, no. So you told like that, but this guru is rejecting. So that's why your philosophy may not be wrong. So there is a lot of preaching and people involved into it. It's not just purely Sri Vaishnavas whom I'm trying to preach. Just to clarify this.
Okay. So
if Prabhupada is Uttama Adhikari and directly representing Krishna, and we are in the association of Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada makes it easy for us by writing out books. This is this age. We're dealing with the age where the Yuga avatar is Lord Chaitanya. That means that any other practice has lost its meaning because people are doing something to get something else. But with Lord Chaitanya, you're not doing something to get something else. What you're doing is the something else that everyone is trying to get, if you catch what I mean. In other words, people are trying to become liberated by following the Sri Sampradaya, etc. They have these rituals, these habits for lifetimes, and it's very beautiful to watch, and it's very nice that they're doing it. But it's not what the world needs right now. They can do it. Let them do it. They will get benefit from doing it. But that's not what the world needs right now. What the world needs right now is to understand that if Krishna himself, who do all these sampradayas worship? Could I ask? These are sampradayas you want to preach to. Who do they worship?
Narayana Prabhu.
Huh?
Narayana Prabhu.
They worship Srimad Narayan, Lord Narayan.
Okay. So if they worship Lord Narayan, what do they make of the idea that Lord Narayan's origin, meaning Krishna, came and is the Yuga avatar for the next 10,000 years? You want to get benefit from spiritual life? You got it. Yuga avatar means God himself came here and manifested himself and is instructing us what to do. Our problem is it's not complicated enough. It's not intricate enough. It's not fancy enough. It doesn't have enough ghee or silver or gold attached to it. So because of that, we think, oh, it couldn't possibly be the supreme truth. But if Lord Chaitanya broke open the storehouse of love of God, meaning that the objective of the Sri Sampradaya and all the other Sampradayas, everything they want to accomplish after many births of practicing is handed to them on a platter in the form of a Shakti Vaishavatar, meaning an incarnation of Krishna, known as the Hare Krishna mantra. And if you chant it or hear it, you don't have to chant it, just hear it. If you will go back to Godhead. Not now, you'll go back to Godhead as opposed to all those jivas that aren't going back to Godhead, that are going to stay in the material universe for potentially forever. We have to come up to Lord Chaitanya, who he is, Yuga Avatar. Yuga Avatar means God stands on the earth and we're looking for a religion somewhere. What do you want to worship that religion? Oh, I want to get to someday to get to God. He came here 500 years ago. Why do you need a ladder to climb to get something that's on the ground level? You don't have to go up to these higher planets or the higher worship. You don't have to go through all these worship. Just chant Hare Krishna. If that's too, it seems that's too difficult for you to do. But actually, it's not too difficult for you to do. It's too easy for you to do. So go right ahead, do what you're doing, because if you're hearing us chant Hare Krishna, you're going to get the result of what you're aiming for now. You're going to be delivered by the holy name. If I come into the Sri Sampradaya and I say, Hare Krishna, they're doomed. What does doomed means? They're going to go back to Godhead. They don't have to practice anything more. So what should they do if they don't practice? It's good for them, isn't it? It gets them up early in the morning. Yeah, but it's unnecessary. Now what they should do is go to every beggar in the street, every nobleman in his palace, every foreigner in his Mercedes-Benz and chant, Hare Krishna, chant with us, Hare Krishna. Let's get everyone on the street, the whole street to roar Hare Krishna. That way, you've achieved everything that the Sri Sampradaya could have produced. And you don't need more philosophy, you need more books. You need essentially fewer books. Because Prabhupada said the only reason that people can read his books is to chant Hare Krishna. Otherwise, why should I chant Hare Krishna? Why should I teach anyone to chant Hare Krishna? Why should I share it with my wife and kids? Oh, I like it, but why should I share it with anyone? Because Read the books. Then you'll give up the books and you'll chant Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Bangladesh Prabhu, thank you very much for joining, and we're over time a little bit, but if we need to, we can answer more questions of yours
Prabhu,
because
Haribol, he's again asking this: is it allowed or not? He had again add that question: is it allowed or not to preach those?
To what?
preach to everyone. Why and chant to everyone? What's the difficulty? Whoever you meet.
Nee, Bangladesh Prabhu again texted in the group chat, right?
Oh,
So
Bangladesh
is it
Prabhu,
allowed or not?
is your question answered, Bangladesh Prabhu? Or do you need further clarification, or do you want to share more, or what's going on?
Yes, Prabhu. Yeah. I think we can continue tomorrow, Prabhu. Yeah, sure.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Thank you to all the devotees for joining online, Facebook,
Yeah.
YouTube, and you
So,
can always ask
The
questions.
real answer to your question is you're already there.
Haribol.
So we'll see everyone tomorrow about 8 p.m. California time. And Mohit Prabhu, what time India time?
7:45 a.m.
7:45 a.m. And Mahaprabhu, looking good. And thank you.
Mahaprabhu looks totally delivered and enlightened.
Yeah,
He
transcendental,
is
handsome.
voluntarily or involuntary, he's taken Vanaprastha.
It's all an illusion. It's an illusion.
Yes. Everything is an illusion except the jiva.
Exactly.
Hare Krishna.
The
Yeah.
jiva is not an
Amen.
illusion because it's part and parcel of Krishna, and Krishna's not an illusion. In Krishna,
Haribol.
there's only one God. It's not like we're exploring a path to a different God. No, there's only one God, but he comes in a myriad of forms.
Hare Krishna.
All right, so
Yeah.
we'll end it here. Thank you to the
Okay.
devotees for joining us.
Right.
This has been recorded and
Well, you
archived
look totally
on
enlightened.
Facebook
That's
and
incredible.
on YouTube. So
Thank you
feel
very
free
much,
to
Prabhu.
join us
You
in
are
our WhatsApp group.
enlightened.
So join us next time tomorrow, and then after tomorrow it'll be Wednesday, Saturdays, Sundays, 8 p.m. California time, 7:45 India time.
Oh,
Fantastic.
by the way, before you get off of that, could anyone like to just offer a quick, not a dissertation, but just ask, did they like what you were reading from that page of Direction to Management?
Oh, yes. I liked it. And Mohit Prabhu, any comments? I sent it to you, Mohit Prabhu, via email. So take a
Prabhu, I'll
read.
read it. I'll read it and come back to you on this. Right? I'll surely come back to you on this. Done. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Jai.
Send it to Mahaprabhu also.
Please.
Does he have your email?
We'll hook up.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay.
Hare
So
Krishna.
Haribol.
Haribol.
Glories to
Hare
Prabhupada.
Krishna.
Hare
Good night.
Krishna. All glory